Good afternoon. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Harrison and I currently teach here at the Centre at EC San Francisco. Today I'd like to introduce a new concept we're doing online. It's called Speed Sessions, and today we're going to be looking at some word categories. Now, as we learn English, whatever our level, we're always trying to expand on some new pieces of vocabulary that we've got stored right up here, okay? And sometimes we kind of hit intermediate, high intermediate, and it gets a little bit tricky because we start to recognize the stems of more complex forms, difficult words, but maybe they've got a prefix or a suffix. That is, forms at the beginning or at the end of a word. And this can be a little bit confusing because often we might know just the infinitive as a verb. Maybe we always like to use the adjective, but maybe we need to apply these and form a noun. So I'm going to slow things down and we'll take a look at some examples of what exactly I mean by analysing word categories. Here's an example sentence. I find history fascinating. At this point, you might think to yourself, right, okay, fascinating. I think that means something along the lines of interesting. Your teacher will say, yeah, you're absolutely right. Usually, things that are fascinating, we find interesting or highly amusing, informative, etc. The point is, instead of taking this down in a vocabulary bank and learning it as one piece of vocabulary, we can go the extra mile. We can learn 3 forms of vocabulary just on the basis of this. Let's have a look at how. In this case, fascinating is telling us something about history. So, the word category for fascinating is, it's an adjective. Yeah? It's an adjective. What other word categories do we like to use in English? Well, verbs are quite common, aren't they? We'd struggle if we didn't have verbs. The same goes for nouns. So what I'd like to introduce to you is what I call the T3 model. That is, we are thinking in threes. Rather than learning one form, we can learn 3. The adjective, the verb, and the noun. Yeah? This really helps us broaden, widen the vocabulary we can use. Especially if we have this trained mindset that can transform one word just by looking at the stem into other forms. So, we know that fascinating means interesting, highly amusing or informative. Okay, so if you're learning this word for the first time, ask your teacher. Say, teacher, Mr. Smith, what is the verb of fascinating? They'll be kind enough, they'll tell you, they'll say, fascinating, from the verb to fascinate. Yeah? To fascinate. And again, you'll see that the stem is identical. The only difference is that you've got this ing suffix at the end. Right? So at this point, instead of learning the one word, now we've doubled it. We've got 2 pieces that we can note down and learn. Learn them and then replicate, use, whether it's speaking or writing. So we're left with a noun. You could ask your teacher, yeah? Or you could pick up a dictionary. You could find any of these words, and naturally it's going to provide you with a noun because of the stem. That's how dictionaries work. Fascination. Again, here we see a suffix. It's at the end of the word. So, what I'm trying to emphasize to you guys today is that if you do learn a new piece of vocabulary, try not to just jot it down and then throw it in your bag or whatever you like to do, you know? Think about it neatly, address it with the category. Then find the verb and the noun, or the noun and the adjective, or the adjective and the verb. Get 3. Think in threes and you can triple your new pieces of vocabulary. Have a good afternoon, and for those of you who I will be teaching tomorrow, do that homework, yeah?